What have we got in Australia? You wouldn't cast them in a movie if Albanese, even the shadow minister, but certainly Scott Morrison and Jeff Frydenberg, they're like so shallow, so utterly shallow, have not fought one bit to be in that place, have just followed through with pharmaceutical companies like little puppets. They don't actually do anything enough to exist. They could be led by any kind of foreign interference, and they would just go along with it. They have no inkling of civil rights whatsoever, even though they've been told again and again that we need to remove those horrible sinkholes in the legislation that are caused by acts of slavery and acts of torture, that are the Mental Health Acts of Victoria and the rest of the states and territories of Australia, as well as any kind of forced medical order, because you just can't do that. You just can't do forced human experimentation and expect the legislature to be in balance and expect the matrix to all work out. Just gonna. But you wouldn't cast them in a movie as leaders. They're background characters. How they got to their position? I mean, with Scott Morrison, I was right from the start. Insidious drip trade. We were better off with Turnbull. At least he did something. At least he got same-sex marriage through. Here, this fellow wants to push through security up to 5G, increase the speed, while we've got these major civil rights issues of slavery and torture in the legislature. So what's that going to do? It's going to let in a whole lot of spy firms just super easily, super quick, boom, 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 and Christmas will just... That's it. So here we have leaders in our country and even the opposition not even going to question the slavery and torture in the legislature. He's just going to turn around and try to speak out against all the spy firm that the leaders, elected leaders, are following. So he's going to speak out against that, but he's got one himself. You can tell because it's flat form face that he doesn't move much from. But yeah, you always want to think that maybe the person looks like that. Maybe they're just, look shallow, but no, they're shallow. They're puppets. They're not going to do much at all except be puppets. So here we have a puppet government as a federal situation. They're not going to move. Spill, would the Attorney General do anything? Hasn't done anything so far. He hasn't been overly disgusting as far as his hate speech towards the human rights movement. Whereas Albanese, Frydenberg and Scott Morrison, they have been absolutely vile and disgusting towards us, to the victims of psychiatrists, to the 80,000 dead last year from forced and coerced psychiatric drugs, and the 80,000 dead from the year before. And the 5 million people currently being arbitrarily detained or and tortured, and the people who are being detained in the community to such an extent that they feel they have no choice but to comply with the medicalisation that's been put upon them. So what we experienced in the last 2 days of Parliament, looking at that after lockdown, praise to Victoria. After Victoria, let's medicalise these people who have had their businesses shut down. How arrogant, how disgusting. You don't put labels on us after you've been violent to our businesses. That's not what you do. that doesn't even make sense. And the whole rubbish about the covering up the whole security scare with medicalisation. I mean, get over yourselves. It's pretty obvious what's going on. We're just absolutely so disappointed. There was no move whatsoever. We were thinking that perhaps, they had a second move. Perhaps they were just sort of, covering up for things, and they were then going to come in and they were going to say, okay, now we've null and voided the laws, the Mental Health Acts, and removed the forced age system, and so they don't violate our wise people in the community, and they start speaking out against what they are doing with those energy weapons to the medical, who have got the bandwidth and who are attacking particularly elderly people in the community, but also children, also people in their career mucking with mainstream media so that they once again have to follow ethics and so forth. The thing is, you can challenge it. You can say, no, I don't want to be a puppet to this restrained eugenics that has been placed upon our society that does not fit with the Australian land here. It doesn't fit at all. It's like it's a really a painful, horrible constriction on our people here, all of us, and even those people who are following the spy films and so forth, and just going with that horrible trajectory. What are they going to tell their grandchildren? What part did they take in the civil rights movement? What are they going to tell? Are they going to say, yes, I did something, I got up in Parliament and I asked that question and I really challenged them. Now that's what a senator that's got their mind right, that's thinking with the people, to use those terms. Yeah. I've been watching a lot of civil rights films on YouTube, and I like to think that in USA they're moving towards getting some kind of removing of forced psychiatry in different states. Perhaps New York might do that. I'm thinking maybe Ireland might move towards this. In Australia, it's looking very grim at the moment, and we're just going to have to keep thinking of ways and means to get the people motivated into realizing that forced psychiatry is slavery, it is torture, and the coroner has to be honest about the 80,000 people that died last year due to forced and coerced psychiatric drugs, because it's very obvious that these substances cause death over time, and it's written on the pharmaceutical packets. So it's obvious to the people that know. The wider public need to be given the information in certain ways, and with all civil rights movements, it's a difficult adjustment, and we're looking at 120 years of having slavery and torture in the legislature in the guise of medical treatment, because the eugenicists got and hijacked the legislature early on at Federation. That's all I'm going to say today. Thanks for listening. Wish things were different, and that I could say that something had been shifted, moved towards ending, abolishing forced psychiatry and towards reparations. But no, that hasn't happened yet. And so, of course, other things like pedophilia and so forth and so on are going to remain hidden and horrible in Australia as well, because the psychiatrists always cover up for those things. Many of them are pedophiles and molesters and just horrible, corrupt, evil people. There is no good psychiatrist in Australia. They are all very, very evil. They are all criminals.